Here we are. Welcome everyone to another week, another episode of Backbone Zone. Here I have none other than B-Dog, aka Brendan Boeck. Brendan, you worked at the shop for ages, and he also is an incredible videographer. He actually last year, hey?
Yeah.
Let's just say last year brought out Ranch Hand, which is essentially I'm going to say like one of the best videos of all time for Australian BMX. And that's partially why I wanted to have you on. But yeah, I kind of just wanted to have you on because you're my mate, and I like hearing what you have to say about BMX and all that type of stuff. So welcome.
Thanks for having me on. Avid listener. And yeah, it's always hard when you've put your heart and soul into something, and you know, as a selling point, you have to say, oh, it's, you know, one of the greatest. He's got so many riders and all this. I obviously didn't cover everything, but I think I did a really good overall job of the idea and the concept in which I wanted to create.
Yeah, it's. I gotta admit, I feel like I need to watch it more because it's so encompassing. Like, it's one of those videos that you get more the more you watch, because you seriously captured so much.
Yeah, she's long.
So much BMX. How long is it?
It's an hour and a half long. It's 20 sections long.
Yeah, it's Godfather long.
It's the Schindler's List. Yeah.
No, that's good, but like I think it I feel like the thing that it does in terms of videos is it sort of breaks the mold for what a BMX video is in a way. It's very still a BMX video, you know what I mean? But I think that just like freestyle BMX, you know what I mean? Like there's no rules, and you've just been like, why can't I make a BMX video that's an hour and a half long? And, you know, you've got the ability, because it was your own thing, you were just like, I'm just going to put in who I want to put in, and, you know, I can put in my family, I can put in like all sorts of, you know, different people from different walks of life and different skill levels even, you know what I mean? And I really like that. I think it's an important way to showcase BMX. It's almost like for the people, if that makes sense.
Yeah, there was definitely lots of thoughts in my mind, because the way I approach this, say, like, let's just say compared to the Backbone video, approaching it in the way that I took a really fly on the wall approach, and that's why I've always kind of filmed and documented life and BMX, and I thought this is either going to hit or miss, and I didn't really care, so to speak, because I knew that I was going to produce something that I was happy with, and it's just, yeah, something I needed to do, and I wasn't too sure how it would be perceived, because you know, half the people in the movie didn't even know they had sections. Half the dudes that may have known they had sections didn't know the song choices that I had chosen. So yeah, I thought it could go awry, but hopefully it didn't.
No, it went good, man. That's actually one thing that I want to ask you about this whole thing, is it's like, so for people that don't know, Brendan made the Backbone video, which we put out, which is now
2015.
Yeah, 2015. Years. So it's 7 years. Man, we're showing our age. But yeah, 7 years ago, you know, put the Backbone video out, and obviously you had very much, you know, your flavor into the Backbone video, but at the end of the day, it was still like
shop vid.
You were making a video for the shop.
Yeah.
How do you even approach a video project just in general, and was there anything that you felt was different from filming, say, the Backbone video to then filming this video?
With the Backbone video, for sure, if it wasn't that scenario, I don't think I would have made as good a video as we did. It was very much a team effort, you know, like, you know, yeah, I made it, but it was definitely like a lot of the team involvement. You know, the moment that we decided to do a full Australian score, you know, we had everyone was involved in choices, and look, yeah, the differences between it. I honestly wasn't even going to do a video. I was just documenting snail trails. You know, we didn't think it would be there for that long. You know, we had,
Yeah.
you know, very, very kind of scary letters, you know, with legitimacy looking emails on them. And we didn't think it would last that long. So I just kept on going in, kept on documenting it. Obviously, they've stuck around for a little bit longer than that. And so it just grew into this beast. The differences between it, everyone was, you know, I was at Back Bone too, and all those questions you were going to got asked. You know, is it going to be an all Australian score again? And I had those thoughts. I did approach it, you know, generally at the start. And I thought I wanted to kind of keep that little theme going. You know, there was thoughts, could it be Back Bone 2? But, you know, everything that this project and Ranchan and myself, I mean, I'm a father of two. I was going through a mature age apprenticeship at the time, and I fully shifted careers from media to construction. And so father of two young kids. I didn't think I'd do a movie, and it just kind of slowly snowballed into this project that I wanted to create. And I just thought, you know, you've always got those far out, you know, end of the road type dreams. Could I do another movie? And I just kept on keeping on, and trips or whatever I could go on, I'd jump on and have the camera, and I fully shifted from, you know, rider to filmer, and then trying to catch a few laps in between. But yeah, that was, the two are different. I don't know, maybe the listeners could have that subjective thought themselves, and hopefully, you know, they've, you know, ingested them enough to have that thought themselves. But
yeah, I definitely think that they're different. I mean, obviously, it's filled with dudes that are badasses, so naturally, I think that the badass dudes mainly ride for Backbone. But, you know, having said that, it's very different. Like, you're able to put a lot more of your own artistic flair and things like that into it, which I appreciate, and just to watch, you know, and I really like rewatchability about videos. To me, that's like, there was a video called, was it called Time Will Tell or something? No, it was like a Elliot Van Orman. You know that dude?
No, that's Closing Times West Coast. Yeah, I think I know the movie you're talking about.
If anyone, I can't remember the name of the video, but it was quite a long video. It was quite random, like obviously a lot more random than your video. Your video, I would say, is not necessarily more thought out, but there was a lot of random stuff in this video that we were watching. At the time, I was like,
so not quite coherent.
To be honest, felt a little bit like disappointed, because I just knew like Elliot and Ted Van Orman were like badass trail dudes, and I was like, oh man, that video, I thought it was going to be sick. But then I watched it, like we had it on at the shop, and it just kept playing. And then I was like, holy shit, the video is sick, because every time I watch it, I get something else out of it. And I think that that's kind of a similar feel that I get from Ranchan. Like, there's been plenty of times watching it, and I'm like, oh, I missed that from the first time. And I think that's kind of exciting, kind of makes for a different type of viewing than like a movie, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I definitely thought... end of the project, I kind of thought I wanted, you know, a little bit more artier stuff in there, but it is a BMX movie. I really feel the overall project is what I wanted, was the intention, and I feel like I executed it. I spent a damn long time making it, but it's cool. That's great.
Yeah,
it's rewatchable.
Yeah, that's right.
That's the goal.
It's 100% rewatchable. That's actually so. One of the big things that I wanted to speak to you about wasn't so much about the specific videos that you've made, but, you know, the BMX world is a bit of an interesting one with videos. We obviously grew up watching videos and things like that. Do you feel like it's something that is missing, you know, the BMX video project, or even just the BMX video experience? Or do you think that it's been replaced by YouTube? Do you think that say Instagram is sufficient for filming clips? You know, what's your opinion on those sorts of things?
A lot of people, you know, you talk about, look, Ranchan wasn't made overnight, and, you know, you've got an accumulation of X amount of content by a rider. Not every single time a rider and a filmer are going to go out, they're going to get gold. It's never going to happen. There are moments and there are times that I've experienced with certain riders, and you always know what a rider is capable of. But if you're not going out there and you're not broadening your potential for a ratio of success, then how could you think that, I'm just going to put this thing up on Instagram? You know, I'm going to use the analogy of building trails. You're not going to rock up to a trail spot and there's not going to be a beautiful set of trails. Barrow by barrow, day by day by day, you know, you slowly build and sculpt, and it then shows itself as this beast. And then sometimes you'll knock it back down and you'll rebuild it, you'll knock it back down. But until you know the volume of content that you have, you're not going to create a good project. So blessing and a curse, the old social media, because it's that instant accessibility, but it's also what, you know, it's a little bit of a bummer that people don't see and even companies, like the broad spectrum of, let's just say, the industry, you know, it is that some people don't see the value in creating a project, working all together and creating one particular piece of art, in my opinion, art. So yeah, it doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm going to play devil's advocate, and this is not my opinion, but it's more just to play devil's advocate, more so we can just talk about it. I think it's interesting. You know, if you were to come at it from an industry perspective, right, then essentially you want to do, I use a lot of fighting analogies, but there's like a bit of a fighting analogy where you want to fight the easiest person for the most amount of money. That's the analogy of prize fighting. But if you were to transfer that over to BMX, it's like you want to do the least amount of work for the most amount of views. And it seems that way. I can see how, like, even just, say for example, not necessarily Dennis Anderson, because obviously he's on another realm of riding, but like, you know that clip that I put up of Hardy, I don't know if you saw it, like him with the new Heartbreaker frames. He's just doing jump. He's just jumping.
Roasting over the tree.
Over the tree. Yeah, over hut jump. You know, that clip was probably like maybe who knows, like less than 5th session that he's ever ridden that jump. And it was probably like 3rd run. So it wasn't like anything special by Hardy's stretch of the imagination. But that clip blew up. Like I don't know exactly how many views, but I remember looking at it, and I think it said it had like 20,000 views or something in a day, and I was like, holy fuck, like that's insane to think that can get that, and yet his section on YouTube, which is the most watched section on the Back Bone video playlist on YouTube, but that's had 70,000. But I wonder what that translates to in terms of like retention and like memory and things like that. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's just so interesting. I think it's interesting because it's like I can see how some people in the industry, or if you think about it as like a monetization perspective, companies would be like, I want this person to put up clips on Instagram frequently, and I don't want to pay a videographer to film that person
for 4 years.
For 4 years, or even 6 months.
Section in a video,
like, because essentially, like, people have, well, it could be argued that people have less attention spans than they did because of social media, but I could be wrong. This is the thing. I'm more just like floating ideas out there rather than what my actual opinion is. But to think that if you were to post a substandard clip every second day for 6 months, then you're going to stay in someone's memory longer than if you film something incredible.
Like, if I was to, so Etney's Chapters came out, and Devon Smiley, amazing rider, but he just rinses the gram. And by the time his section came out, you feel like you've already watched 900%. It's just like you feel like I've already seen this. This is something I've already seen before. But he did work hard on that project with that videographer. No discredit to either of the video or the company or anything. It's just the nature of the beast at the moment.
Yeah,
so.
That's actually the flip side to my argument, I feel.
Yeah.
Because it's like because I feel like a video, and you can give me your perspective on this after this, but like a video is almost like an art piece, you know what I mean? Something that you would want to hold on to for a long time.
Agree.
And you would not want to devalue that piece of art by then like splashing for cash, you know what I mean? You don't want to like it's almost like if you didn't know who Devon Smiley was at all, didn't even have Instagram, and then he comes out with this banging video part, you'd be like, far out, this dude's off the charts, like this is blowing my mind, you know what I mean? And then it kind of adds to this mystique and all that sort of stuff, but because you see it all the time, it's like almost expect it to be better, so it devalues the art of the video piece.
Yeah, and devalues the want or need for a company to pay someone to put that out. Like that was a totally independent thing that I did, because there's no way I could have done it again under.
That's
no one's paying for it. So.
Yeah. It's a tough one, like with that, because I feel like I think that in the BMX industry, it is sort of coming back a little bit. Like it seems like maybe people like Vans, few brands and things like that, they invest in doing like video parts. Obviously they're still on YouTube, but at least like that's a good.
Yeah, like Dennis Hender's definitely putting in work to blow minds with these video parts, but they're definitely intended for the internet.
Yeah,
like he's definitely going in. There's a lot, length of time, and AC is mind blowing. It's a beautiful piece, like especially with having his son involved and whatnot. But yeah. So people, it's always going to be there, and everyone's doing it still. It's just not as prevalent, obviously.
Yeah,
it's not the pinnacle. It's not everyone's striving to have a full project piece and showcase your entirety of work.
What's your so around that whole idea? What's your opinion on DVD versus say a YouTube video part?
You're not making any money with DVDs, so everyone's doing YouTube parts. YouTube parts are accessible, at a touch of a button. No doubt Ranchan will go on there soon, and a lot of people have probably seen it. So it's a DVD. I made a physical thing. I made the choice to make a physical thing, but yes, definitely it'll be online, because that's the way of the world.
Yeah,
accessibility.
Yeah, I think it's just like I used to have a real love of physical video, and I think now I can appreciate the YouTube idea, because it does, like I've said to you, we've spoken about it before, like the more people that can see it, the better, like in my opinion now, like,
and that's where I'm at now.
Yeah,
I want more people to see it.
Like I actually listen to you hear about comics, like on Joe Rogan or whatever, they'll talk about how some comics will, rather than try and sell their special to like a company like say Fox or Showtime or whatever, they'll just produce the whole thing themselves and put it on YouTube. Because it's like, even if it goes on Netflix and Netflix has a huge audience, it doesn't necessarily mean that people click on their thing. Whereas if on YouTube, if you've got like good heading and whatever else, like, that could be shared, and then all of a sudden people are seeing it like 10 times more, maybe even 100 times more. And I think that's kind of where I would like to. Unfortunately, it's not as easy when you just picking songs and things like that you feel would sound really good to the parts. But I feel like if people got to see Ranchan on YouTube now, it'd just be the icing on the cake,
Yeah,
you know what
definitely.
I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting, man. Like, I think the BMX video projects are almost more than just what the video is. It's like almost the best way to get people just hyped on BMX in general. I don't know if that, like, I feel like you've been the dude that's kind of spearheaded that. You know, like the Backbone video times of Backbone, like especially probably 2013 to 2015, everyone was just charging, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that was good. That was a good time for sure.
Yeah.
I feel like, you know, to go back on your other question before, you know, what's the difference between the two, is that, you know, I always felt like I was in the background with Ranch Hand, and the way I approached that and why I did that was because quite often, and look, let's be honest, most of what is in Ranch Hand and most of what the riders are doing that I see in my experience going on the trails and the crews I'm with and the spots that I go to, that's happening anyway. Dudes are doing that anyway. So I'm just trying to immortalize that in a project. And so being the fly on the wall, blessing and a curse, you know, sometimes it's like the rider doesn't feel like they were doing it that well because they weren't knowing that there was a camera on them. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with working hard and knowing that you're going to produce and you wanting to produce. But I definitely, have, you know, in my experience, things are happening. It's all awesome. A lot of the BMX great movies that people, you know, idolize, that was just what was happening in the scene at the time. Like, let's just take Building in the Underground, for instance. You know, is that the greatest BMX movie of all time? In dudes' mind's eye, and like the feeling it gives you, and the crew and the spot, you know, like it really was. And I'm just trying to capture and immortalize what's happened, what is going to be seen or not seen. And so, yeah, that was definitely not like Backbone where it's like, let's go out and let's, you know, and people work for their sections, don't get me wrong. But
yeah.
It was maybe a little bit different to like Jacko ice picking, however many stair rail, or like there were certain, you know, a few of us went out to go and film certain things, especially like Gunny again. You know, we went out to Dubbo specifically to film that ender. And, you know, there were a few times where I went out specifically, but so yeah, maybe that was the biggest difference was the fly on the wall versus the let's, you know, and everyone together, working together to go and achieve a goal. Yeah. We were doing that, but it was, just documenting.
Yeah, I think I've never really thought about it like that, because you can't help but think, I think because BMXers, or like from of our age, where BMX DVDs and videos are such a prominent part of our lives, growing up and watching them. Mags and videos.
With the Bible.
Exactly, yeah. You can't help but be like, you can't help but be like, oh man, B-Dog's filming a video, I've got to get clips, you know. But now that I know a bit of perspective on, like, you know, you were just sort of fly on the walling it, it kind of changes the way it feels for me even now, like thinking about it. I've never heard you say that, is what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like, that's almost like, it's almost like you just captured what the feel of the scene and the vibe of Australian BMX was, you know, like through the pockets of where you got to, which was fairly fucking big pockets. You know, you were everywhere.
I did get to, yeah. So I just wanted it to feel like how BMX feels.
Yeah.
And I couldn't get everywhere, and you know, quite often, a lot of people didn't really know that they had sections because it was just jams. You know, I definitely a lot of help from people up north. You know, like Shadow and Foxy giving me certain clips from certain places of certain dudes. I couldn't be anywhere. You know, I'm a father of 2 young kids, so it was just where I could get to, plus a little bit of help from everyone else. I mean, you probably even filmed some clips in there. A bunch of other people filmed some clips. And, you know, but then again, that's community, and that's so the essence of all that. Just the community, the lifestyle, the culture more so than anything. And the whole reason behind it, you know, the DIY, how we do it ourselves. I mean, do you know what Ranch Hand stands for?
Not totally.
A ranch hand's like, it's a term for a labourer. It's an American term, so like a ranch, American farm. So it's a farm hand. It's a labourer. So that's where the term came from. That's where the name came from. We all labour for our love, whether it's yourself doing some podcasts, working at the shop, coaching, or dudes building their own ramps, DIY spots, trails. So it's that labor of love, and that's that laboring of our love, and the laboring for our culture of what we love to do to get together, and pretty much everything. It's just like jams. It's a whole it's a culmination of jams.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
there's
just everyone jamming in different ways.
Yeah, I mean, now look, we're predominantly, I mean, I'm the filmer of the trail guys, but you know, we're in the trail scene. I mean, there's dudes doing the street stuff as well. But for us, this is what we do. We labor for our love, building ramps and trails and whatnot.
Yeah, that's very true. To think like you only just kind of illuminated that for me now, and I feel like that's an important point to talk about. The DIY thing is it's obviously really, you know, a substantial part of what BMX is. But I don't know. I was about to. The reason why I'm getting into this is because I want to ask you what your thoughts were on becoming, you know, professional videographer and getting into media full time and things like that. But before I ask you about that, I guess I was just. You made me realize just now that BMX kind of exists in the way it does because of DIY, and while sometimes that can feel like a little bit of a bad thing because, you know, we should be all enjoying the fruits of our labor, you know, a lot more, you know, like in other ways it's great because that's what keeps the culture so what would be the word, like pure, you know, like so true. Free.
Ultimate goal is the freedom, and that's exactly the same as my project. I gave myself that freedom. Everyone else around me is doing their thing. Look, at the end of the day, we're not making money off any of this sort of stuff, but we're able to creatively just, you know, let out what we want. You know, I you know, saying again, like, put in a few things which I wasn't really sure, you know, like I'd done these basically like microscopic shots of earthworms like burrowing through the dirt, and then like huntsmen's getting swarmed by ants, and there's just this full blown like regenerative like circle of life type thing in that film. Whether people get it or not, it's just it's all in there for a reason, and at the end of the day, freedom I had. You know, it's a total independent film that I didn't ask anything for, and I thought this could go wrong. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't, maybe it's a flop, maybe it's not, but you know, I was able to do that with the experience of past projects and my love and passion for this thing that we call our culture.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. You know, like the freedom that you had to be able to do it exactly your way is a little bit harder to come by, I think. You wouldn't see that happen in other things, you know what I mean? Like, obviously people, say for example, a musician can make an album, but at the end of the day, they're making that album to sell. They don't make that album to then put into a cupboard and be like, or just give to their friends. You know what I mean? So, I mean, not that you didn't sell this, I'm not getting at that, but, you know, you completely did it off your own bat, and I feel like it's something that I didn't really realize, you know, that doing it yourself and enjoying that doing it yourself really just needs to be celebrated a lot. And I think that kids could learn, or not even kids, everyone could learn or be reminded of that lesson with BMX. You know, like, it's actually funny, I was saying that Brandon Lupos contacted me just earlier about the potty, but he wrote that BMX doesn't owe you shit. You know, it's kind of a good reminder, like with what you're saying. You know, you do it because you love BMX, because you want to contribute to the culture.
Hell yeah. And
I think that everyone does what they do if they're building ramps or trails or whatever. You know, that's all just a contribution to the culture of BMX and what makes it like just sick as fuck.
That's what I always think is important as well, is giving back to your community no matter what it is.
Yeah.
Whether it's a bike, whether it's family, whether it, you know, whatever you're into, it's giving it back. Culture is there for a reason, And I remember listening, a few podcasts back on yours, and when, on the shoulders of giants, they're, they can't be there forever. And I really love the points that you touched on. And I thought to myself growing up, I was inspired by them. They're doing awesome stuff. I want to be able to hopefully maybe one day do those things. And that's the amazing thing about BMX. I now am friends with my idols that I've looked up to, that have had posters on the wall from growing up as a young kid, who I've idolized, filmmakers like Stu Johnson. Like now, hanging out with like Joe Rich and Stu Johnson, who in like, let's just say like NRL, what NRL kids are out there and are like hanging out with their full-blown idols that they've looked up to their entire life. I'm not saying it can't happen. I'm just saying that's so amazing about our culture and our life that we've been able to do those things. We're both friends with them, and that's mind-blowing.
Dude,
and
mind-blowing.
Stu loves my movie. He was, supportive of the project the whole way through. I honestly, probably one of my biggest idols is Stu. And other filmmakers like, the artistic side would be like a Joe Simon and even Joe Rich. But essentially, things like props roadfuls or props, that is literally a documentation of a culture.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
That's exactly, it's an emulation of what you ingest and what you're inspired by. And I feel like I created my own little piece of the cultural pie, so to speak, in my project.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, that's exactly right. You can be anyone. You can, that's what I sort of touched on in previous podcasts as well. Like, I feel like if kids hear this, or anyone hears this, and they're like, man, I can be the next person that's going to prop up like culture. Like the culture is, I've never thought of it like to explain it like culture, but that is what we live in, you know what I mean? That's what makes this thing so pure and so good. And you're exactly right. And that's something that's so sick about BMX. It's like just small enough, but just big enough that there's people that you can idolize, and then you freaking meet them. Like I've never been so blown away as to think like, now we have mates who we've literally grown up freaking like idolizing.
Yeah.
And you can't do that in NRL or pretty much any other sport. I remember when Tomo worked at the shop, my mate Tom O'Reilly, skateboarder, and he was like, you don't go to the freaking skate park and just see like Dylan Reeder or like, your favorite skateboarder. Like they're just not doing that. It's not like you. Yeah. Whereas in BMX, you are lucky enough to just have this perfect like petri dish of epic culture.
Definitely. I mean, you can do it, and it's not going to happen if you don't make it happen.
Yeah.
And it's like we always preach. We're like, well, what's happening with the next generation coming up? I and yourself included, we're inspired. We have been inspired on those, all those mammoth legends in the culture of BMX. We doing what we wanted to do. Like, hopefully we can be a good example of that.
Yeah.
As well. And, it's now being fathers, carrying on to the next generation. I mean, it's going to be a while since they, if they even choose to ride BMX. I don't care if they do or don't. No. All I can do is show them, like, this is what we did. The kids kids didn't even know that Leah rode. I showed them the video that I made of her from the US Canadian trip. And I go, is that you, mummy?
Dude.
So,
speaking of Leah riding, I've been doing the girls only sessions. Like, it's been so sick. Like, it's crazy. Speaking of, so, we often talk, like we were just talking about before the potty about, we don't really know too many younger 18 to 25-ish riders. Freaking met two of them. They're just two girls that are just like shredding Western Creek all the time. But it'd be sick to have Leah jump back on the bike. That would be crazy. Dude.
That'd be pretty cool, man. Like we honestly, we toured toured. Like, we went to the States. It was called Yazine then. Now it's called the Bloom BMX. But
they're the same.
Yeah. I think
the same.
There's a few chicks that are all, that's it. So
right.
Bloom BMX is Yazine. So right. And the chicks with Yazine, they brought out an all-female video, and Leah got we became really great friends with so many female riders. And yeah, when we went over to the States, I literally went to certain spots knowing that we were going to meet up with girl riders, and anything else was a bonus, really. I mean, Austin's, you got to meet a few riders here and there, and especially if you're mates with Nina, you might end up at T1. So, but yeah, it's such a great community, and like for all the girls out there, like Bloom BMX, check that out. But there are heaps of girls riding, always have. So, yeah, straight on.
It's so dope.
Maybe you're the leaders now, girls. Come on, show the boys what to do.
That's right. Like I feel like just meeting these two chicks that I didn't even know existed, and they're like frothing on BMX, and it really got me psyched, because it kind of showed me how BMX is just so pure that you don't even have to know everyone, but you just know that they're frothing, and then it gave me that old school vibe. Like when there's always the talk about like you go to the next town over, and if you see someone wearing an S&M shirt, all of a sudden you're like, yo, what's up, dude?
Hell yeah.
Like that was the same feeling. I was like, straight away, I was like, oh, we're mates. You know what I mean? Not that I've lost that feeling ever, but it's so cool to be reminded still after like 20 something years of riding BMX. Like there's still people that you get stoked on. Like.
That's right. You got to stay fresh. You got to keep it. We've been riding for a while, and right now, it's a little bit on the back burner for me, but BMX is on my mind like a high percentage of the day, even if I'm not on the bike so much. And I remember when we were doing a lot of coaching throughout the ACT schools, that was getting me more stoked at the time as well, like being a young father and teaching all the kids how to ride. That level of excitement you can see in their eyes. They've picked up a new skill. They're getting stoked. Now, look, they're not going to be long life BMXs, but that for us is so fulfilling, I feel like, because of our experience and able to share our knowledge in BMX and teach. We literally taught kids to ride a bike for the first time. They'd never even been on a bike, and they were rolling down that basketball court. So that was
crazy time, man. Like pretty mind blowing. That's when you all of a sudden you're like, holy crap, can't believe that BMX has brought me here, in a way.
Yeah.
But I do feel like as long as even though some of them, majority of them, maybe all of them, don't go on to ride BMX, if we got a kid stoked to one kid, at the whole time, it's like pretty cool, because again, you add into the culture.
Yeah.
But circling way back to the thing that I said earlier, you at the time, you were working at Backbone, making the Backbone video. You were also shooting weddings.
Yeah. And
I remember you were seeming like you wanted to go potentially hard out into doing media stuff and things like that, and then
that was essentially I left the shop and I was like, I'm doing this, going in.
Just different. Just realized that it was probably a bit hard work, eh?
The old saying, if you do what you love, you never work a day in your life. Merits to that saying. I was getting burnt out. I literally, what you're doing is you're working your bread and butter. You're creating a way. So you're gaining a wage for yourself, and I found that through wedding photography. Worked for a great photographer in Canberra, Ash Photography, and she taught me a lot about, everything, shooting. It's just how you approach it, basically. And look, I loved work. I worked for another 7 years after that. Oh no, I worked for 7 years. I shot weddings for 7 years overall. So a couple years after I left the shop, and randomly entered the construction industry. And honestly, blessing in a curse. No, it was a blessing in disguise. Sorry. It was during COVID, a lot of our media friends unfortunately couldn't work. Bands, musicians, all the creatives weren't allowed to do it, but construction came through. So. A little bit of a blessing in disguise.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, because I often think about controversial topic potentially. I don't really know. We just got done speaking about doing what you love and the freedom that it brought you, and just the adding to the culture, which I think is, you know, at the end of the day, the most important thing that you can do. However, it seems like it's not an easy place to break into to do media, you know, as a job in BMX. And I guess I just wanted to pick your brain on what you thought about that, you know, for people, for aspiring people even, but not even necessarily aspiring, more just to have a conversation about it, because it seems like BMX is the thing where, if you look at it from, I guess, an industry perspective, BMX is watching other people ride. You know what I mean? Like, obviously you're doing it for yourself, and, you know, the enjoyment that brings and friendship and all that jazz. But, you know, you look around, I mean, even you can't really see it, but the post on the wall, like, that's documentation of BMX. Someone is standing there with a camera shooting that photo, and it's obviously evolved from that.
Yeah. But you don't often, there's probably a handful of people ever that you hear about that, like, have become BMX filmers full time. Mm-hmm. And I just wanted to see what your thoughts were on why or how you could make that happen, or even if it's even possible. And yeah, just, you know, your thoughts. Firstly, if it's like, even if you're starting out and you have a passion for a camera, well, then start learning. Books. I went to, you know, I did a tech course. I got my Cert 4 and didn't continue on because I'd got a job, and I couldn't afford it. Well, not that I couldn't afford, but essentially go to school, learn, like, do it. If you want to do it, do it. But in my experience, I'm Australian. There's an Australian BMX industry, and there is a pie which is only so big, and that equates to every part of the industry. And look, at the end of the day, I personally don't think that there's money in it to be a BMX videographer, photographer. But if there is, and if you work hard enough, and if you want to put yourself in a position like someone like Cooper Brownlee, who works his butt off, then yeah, it's possible. But he also worked really hard to be in that position. So you got to want it. And I'm not going to say it's not possible. I'm just saying for myself, I mean, I working at Back Bone, look, it could have been possible. I wasn't willing to put in the hours, so I didn't make it possible for myself. So I chose a more commercial route, which is a little bit more steady. And once again, we're in the Australian BMX industry, so if you want to make it happen, work hard, go for it. If it's something like you want to learn, and hopefully this is not uninspiring people, but if you love it, I mean, I loved it that much that I independently brought out a film that I filmed and worked on for 4 years. So, like, the love of it, hopefully it's not coming across negatively. It's just I did it because I wanted to do it. So maybe hopefully that's inspiring to people. But in my opinion, I don't feel like you could.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of what I'm getting at with this whole question. Like, and I know it sounded like a loaded question, but, you know, you made the video 4 years, went on trips everywhere. Mm-hmm. That's essentially, like, if you were looking at it like, oh man, this video owes me X amount of dollars, then of course it's going to feel like, how the hell is anyone going to be able to pay me for the amount of time and effort? Like, if you put an hourly rate on your editing and your filming, all of a sudden you're looking at like ridiculous dollars. You know what I mean? Like, in terms of
as a total
cost of a product.
But if I look at the actual amount that I made, I probably made about 20 cents an hour, 10 cents an hour.
But like, that's not. You did it for the right reasons, and it's kind of like, you know, you love BMX, so everything that you were doing for that was essentially like almost like a holiday. You know, you're going on road trips and things like that. Like, say for example, you work as a chippy, and then on your days off, you try and go on BMX trips.
That's exactly what I did.
Well, that's exactly
that's my life.
But that's exactly what you did. You know what I mean? But it's like, I think that it is really important. I mean, I'm in a lucky, just to sort of clarify, I'm in a pretty lucky situation where obviously I own a BMX shop.
But you've also put yourself and worked hard to be in that position as
well.
well.
You know, I own a BMX shop, but I go out and shoot photos of people and put it on like our, say, on the website or on Back Bone Instagram or whatever like that. Could we afford to pay someone an hourly rate to just do that? I don't know. Maybe we could, but I feel like it's my love and enjoyment of just going and spending that extra time to go and do that gets me to do that. You know what I mean? That's awesome.
And honestly, props to you for doing it.
But that's what you do for this. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And I think it probably took you to leaving the shop to almost feel like, oh, now I can just have this like complete freedom to enjoy it.
Yeah, and also, stop shooting commercially.
Yeah, that's right.
And so going into construction, I literally went into a totally new field. So I'd rock up, and I was laboring for years. And all I'd do is I'd rock up, yo, what are we doing? Cool, let's do this, go home. Oh, cool, I can do this thing now. And I just had this total shift in my mind because I didn't have any responsibility, essentially. I mean, obviously, I have to do my job, but, and that allowed that freedom to do that.
Yeah.
When I did have the time, if I wasn't,
for sure,
parenting.
Yeah, that's right. If you got free time,
that's right.
Then that's what you want to do.
Yeah, and so it did take a while, and it wasn't like 4 years of grueling trips and clips, and it was like, hey, I might be able to go out to Young again, the June Jam. So
I think that's just a cool perspective to realize. I kind of, you hear a lot about people getting jobs and then they ditch BMX, and I would use that as inspiration to be like, oh, cool, I've got this spare time outside of work now, like I can do whatever I want.
It's getting pretty serious now. I'm a qualified carpenter. I've got a new job back here working with Hardy, Gunny Rain, and Rocky. I've got a great new...
How the boys are working like Harlem Globetrotter style, but BMX, like carpentry.
Chippy BMX. So it's great. I'm back home now. I was working away for a little while and I hated that. So being with a new crew. But yeah, it's just one of those things. It's just like now I take it way more seriously. Like, it did take me a long time to fully shift in. And they say... can't think of the term right now, imposter syndrome.
Oh yeah.
It's taken me a long time to kind of shift and say I'm now a carpenter.
Mm-hmm.
I've gained X amount of skills and I'm at where I'm at. So, but it was a totally different shift coming from media. I was lucky enough to win a bunch of awards when I went to tech, working with Jack O'Reilly. We made a short documentary called Cut Short. Everyone loved it. It was such an amazing thing. And I feel like the love of media, the love of working behind a camera and then going into education, further educating myself and then working hard, it wasn't as hard as construction has been for me. So now construction's kind of totally taken over. I literally had to shoot some family photos the other day and where are my cameras? Where's just dust off the dust. Had to charge the batteries. And so, it's a total shift now. And, but is what it is.
Yeah, that's right. But I saw the twinkle in your eye when you came to the trails. You were shooting photos and stuff.
I hadn't shot. What settings again?
Yeah,
how much?
Pretty cool. I think, you've always been a mainstay of the BMX scene in Canberra. Obviously for riding, but for shooting videos and photos. And I think it's just that enthusiasm, shines through and people, it's contagious. I remember, you made me want to shoot photos because you were always keen to go and shoot videos and things like that. So I'd be like, fuck, I gotta take my camera and just shoot some photos while you're shooting video.
Tending to the garden, man.
Tending to the garden, that's right.
I feel like I've made an infinite garden. I went away for 4 years and I just built this regenerative, what's permaculture? What's the term of
I don't know. Regenerative ag.
Yeah. I feel like I just was like, you know what, guys? Give me a minute. I didn't want that stress. I didn't want that nagging. You know, as you were saying, you know, people are just like, where's my food? And that's the social media. That's what I feel like it is. So if we're tending to our garden as people of our culture and us like constantly feeding, working, growing, nurturing to feed everyone, that's what it was. It was that, you know, and that's the social media thing. It's just that constant need and hunger. You know, it's just like fast food. If it's not there right then and there, people are pissed off, and I need it, and people aren't going to invest in the time that it takes for a garden to grow. I mean, shit takes time. Something that is good, something that is worthwhile, is going to need a few minutes. And so that's what I did. I went away and kind of sat in the background. Everyone's like, are you making a movie? You know, what's happening? And I just, it needed the space it needed. It needed the time to grow as it needed. COVID was a cheeky little, like, you know, a little bit of a time delay for me to kind of work a little bit more on it. Yeah. So I went away and I made a garden that never runs out. You just press play and be fed.
Yeah, that's very true.
Rather than churning and burning.
Exactly, man. The churn and burn is tough. Like, you know, there's photos, I'm sure you have photos in your mind that last forever and then burnt into your mind. Mm-hmm. From when you've flipped open magazines, you know, like,
for sure.
And I think that type of thing is what is important and will probably always remain the constant in BMX. So, or at least I hope so, you know, like, I think that as long as people are chasing that, like, eternal memory making, you know, then
Fingers
videos
crossed.
And even the YouTube web parts and things like that.
And there is nothing wrong with the web part. The web parts are amazing. I mean, you know, you even spoke about it recently about the Lewis Mills. That mind blowing. I mean, once again, the Dennis Henderson one. The band Cobra Man it's etched into my brain. I love listening to that song. It brings me back to that. Now, whether we're going to remember all those web edits or we're not, it is a hard one because there's a big sea of it. Whereas I feel like maybe, you know, having a video, you know, up on your mantelpiece, you could look over and it's there and you go, yeah, that one. And that's why I wanted to do something a little bit bigger. I know with the Back Bone DVD, we did like the sleeve. Yeah. The sleeves get a wash, you know, just like the web.
That's right. Yeah, it kind of disappears a little bit. Yeah, exactly. Right.
So I wanted to make it a little bit bigger. It's a classic old DVD casing.
Yeah, very smart. Yeah, it's so funny how like that can really work. Like, you know, like having the actual photo as a poster on the wall, like, allows you to continue to revisit that memory and things like that. So, yeah, I never thought about that. They should just redo VHSs so it takes up more room in your bloody on your mantelpiece. That would be so fun.
Or like bands are rehashing the cassette. You know, I was never a vinyl dude, but now they're even rehashing cassette tapes. It's like, you know, I thought it was bad enough doing a DVD. Bands are doing cassettes. Apparently they're back in.
Walking around with the Walkman.
So trendy, man. So trendy.
Yeah, dude. It's like everything that's 90s vintage is back. No, it's cool, man. I definitely draw a lot of inspiration from what you've done, like, for the scene, and just the positivity that you show just in your everyday life through BMX. And you're someone that, even though, like you said, you've been busy doing the carpentry thing, like, I wouldn't ever think of you as less of a BMXer. In fact, that's what I think I spoke about with hardcore BMX in one of the earlier podcasts. You know what I mean? Yeah. I've said it before. It's like, you're far from being someone that doesn't ride or isn't a BMXer, but like, you will always be this person that is just always contributing to BMX because it's like in your blood. You know what I mean?
It's definitely hard not being able to do as much as I did. You know, there'd be times we'd all the jams would be on mics and I'd, you know, take photos and you document it all. And, you know, I obviously can't do that now. And it's taken a little while to, you know, come to grips with getting older and having more responsibility in life. But I personally believe that you need to put effort in what's important, and I made something that was really important. And like, it's not the old pass the torch. I mean, I don't like that term, and I don't, you know, you're still out there every single day doing it, coaching and all that sort of stuff. So BMX is on my mind, but people, probably the young kids don't even know who I am, and that's fine. That's cool because I've got priorities elsewhere.
Oh yeah.
But by no means, has BMX left the mind.
Oh, 100%. And I mean, people will still. This is the thing. Like, I think it's kind of cool in a way if you can be not necessarily anonymous, but like people can see it. Like you made the Back Bone video, for example, right? People go on YouTube. They might not see, filmed and edited by B-Dog. But that might be someone's favorite section. Like Ben Piggett's section might be their favorite section.
That's why.
Or just a video that they go back and watch all the time. Like I know for sure that we're not necessarily like that as much with YouTube, just with our age. But kids are. They definitely go back and watch stuff. And that's the thing where you could be helping to change someone's life for the better. And I think if people use that as inspiration, then if they're at a jam and they're like, I'm going to take photos of this, that can change people's lives, like in a way. Creating memories, making memories, that's the thing. Like there's a dude that has been coming into the shop, Andrew, and he is a guy our age, and he came to that first like Saturday sesh at the park. Yeah. Just took photos.
I missed bad COVID. Sorry, everyone.
But it's sick. Like
that's great.
That dude, like he's now he's contributing to the scene. He's
awesome.
Like getting kids psyched. Got me psyched that he was there. Fist bumps and shit like that. And I'm just so hyped to see what you've done, and then for it to resonate through the Australian BMX scene, especially with a video like this. And I did want to bring up the analogy that you were speaking with Harley the other day. I thought it was a pretty funny one, like, and it's just stuck in my mind. I've never even heard it, but maybe I'll let you say it. You say it, and then that way it's out of your mouth.
Yeah, everyone's got their thing, and to that person, their thing is their thing. And it's fine whether it's stacking barrows or it's dudes in the locker room pumping out weights to get fit for their team in which they play for. It's the same shit. It's just different shit. It's someone else's shit. Just because it's not your shit doesn't mean it's shit.
Yeah, that's it, man. Like I
it's
feel
not that profound, but it's everyone's doing their thing. It doesn't matter if it's not your thing. Don't diss it. Because they're probably, it's just all those negative and negative, an eye for an eye.
Yeah, that's right.
People, who cares? I personally do not care for NRL. Not my thing. But do you know what I'm not doing? And do you know what I didn't do as a kid? I didn't pick up a ball and then kill the deal with a pill because I couldn't handle it. And I was like, screw this. I looked over at a bike and I was like, yeah, that's pretty cool. And then a few people had bikes and then it progressed from there. So... same shit, different shit. If it's not your shit, don't worry about it.
Yeah,
do
that's
your
right.
thing.
Just
don't hate on someone else. If someone's got fucking oil slick, cool. I personally don't like oil slick. Not my thing. That's cool. Same shit, different shit. I like camo. Way too much camo. They're probably looking at my bike being like, oh, can't see your bike, bro.
Yeah, that's right. Like I think it's a cool way to realize that we're all, and especially within BMX, we're all doing the same thing at the end of the day. Like kids love doing whatever that can feel just as important and exciting for them and meaningful. And that's again with the analogy that you were talking about. There's people that have spent a long time building jumps or whatever it might be in BMX. Your building jumps was just...
I ain't stacking lips, I'm stacking clips, baby.
Yeah, that's right. You were just stacking clips. You were spending the time... You were foregoing your time...
On the bike as well.
Not necessarily even foregoing your time, because this is the thing about trails, I feel. Everyone goes and digs jumps because they want to dig jumps. No one's really going to dig jumps... no one is going to dig jumps because... they're being made to. You know what I mean? I actually had one of the young kids came in here and he was saying that he wasn't going to build a line at the trails that we have. because I said you can build a line there if you want, but you got to commit.
Yeah.
And he said, I'm not going to do that. And I said, that's cool, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you don't have to do that. Like, I'm not going to, that's why I'm not going to put effort into what you're doing, because I'm too busy doing what I'm wanting to do. That's why I don't ever even call people when I go to the jumps to dig. Like, I'm 9 times out of 10 when I'm at the trails, I'm there by myself because I wanted to be doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that was important when I heard you say that. You were like, when you're out digging, I'm filming or editing the video, and but I'm doing it because that's what I want to do. And then at the end of a long period of time, you have a set of trails, I have a video.
Yeah.
And I think that's, a cool way to look at it. Like, not even talking about contributing to a scene, but just, you committed to this thing, and the thing happened to be a video, and people will gain value out of that. Yeah. Just like the person that eventually rides the jumps will gain value out of that. So
that's a great word, is commitment as well. It's like, when you're slow, maybe a shitty day, and you've had a shitty day, or it is a shitty day, whatever it is, you don't want to be going out there and stacking barrows and doing all sort of stuff. But when you have an end goal and it becomes more clear to you, you become numb to it. You start, I'll constantly have just been just like anything, everyone's, you're playing tunes, you're working through it, you're grinding, you're going through what you need to do to get to the end result. Sometimes it's clear where the end result is, sometimes it's not.
Yeah.
So you just got to keep on keeping on.
And you always feel better after you've done it too.
Oh man, it's hard as stacking all that sort of stuff or doing the video. But when you're at Act Jam, and I could premiere another film at Act Jam a few years past, a few years later than the other one, but that is so amazing. That I was like having like panic attacks and stuff, because I was it's such a build up. And the thing was, because it was a little bit secretive, like I was saying, half the people didn't know their songs, half the people didn't even know they were in the video. Because of that fly on the wall mentality, it was just like, obviously people knew I was filming and all that sort of stuff, but the entirety of it all, it was a big build up,
Yeah.
So it's worth it, man.
Yeah, that's it.
That is what it's all about.
Yeah. Being able to share it with your mates and the crew and get people stoked. It's
keen for Troy's new video. I've already bought tickets for it. It's got to get some plane tickets.
Oh yeah, cool.
Get on up.
When's that premiering?
20th of August, next month.
Oh shit.
Yeah. He hired a cinema, so he's doing it.
That's impressive.
It's got to get some flights and stop pushing that back. But keen as to be around everyone, see some hard work that everyone's put in. Prems are amazing. So it's, you can't explain that. You just got to do it. Got to go. So I'm doing it.
Yeah, Troy Charlesworth, tear the club up.
Yeah, the polar opposite of Ranch Hand. I love you, buddy.
Yeah, that's the beauty.
Can't wait to see all the trail sections in there, man.
For sure, yeah. Dude, might have to break the dance slippers out for that one. Anyway, sick having you on the show, Brendan. Love having you. Hopefully we can see some, maybe different projects in the future. But if not, you've done more than enough.
Coming up.
Cool. There's a few coming up.
Yeah, there'll be some. There's something in the works. So yeah,
sick.
Soon.
Yeah.
Very soon.
Awesome, man. Yeah, love having you on, brother.
Thank you very much.
And thanks for listening, everyone. And we'll see you again next week. Hell yeah.